So it's December 2019, and despite a decade of abominations, the last year had seen 343 Industries' apparent change of pace. Their first well-received game, the fixing of the MCC, and then remastering and bringing Halo 1 through Reach to PC. After a decade in charge of the franchise, it looked like they were finally getting things right. But back in 2018, they'd given us another bombshell. The next Halo was officially announced at E3, and it looked amazing. Was that the classic Halo 3 piano note? And the classic helmet? My god. After a decade of fans begging for a mainline game that actually looked like Halo, it looked like it was actually on the cards. And at E3 2019, we got our next taste.
Oh my god.
Classic armor, classic music, classic one-liner.
We need to run.
No, we need to fight.
This next game was actually looking and sounding like a Halo game. My god. That suit is magnificent.
It looks so good. Dude, that suit looks so sick.
Oh my gosh, that armor. He looks like Halo 3.
343 is also boasting a next-generation slip space engine that they'd built for the future of the franchise. But fast forward to E3 2020, and it's big. We get another trailer, and a ton of details. The game's multiplayer is going free to play, guaranteeing a massive player base, and it'd be live service for years to come, meaning there'd be a ton of new content, seasons, and battle passes every 3 months. Chris Lee, 343's current studio head for Infinite, is even saying the game would be the platform for the next 10 years of Halo. And yes, he confirms that split-screen co-op would indeed be in at launch. But most importantly, we finally get a glimpse at Infinite's actual gameplay. However, fans notice something. Those graphics, they don't look great. It's an Xbox Series X launch title, yet they look 360 level. In fact, in some places, even Halo 3 actually looked better. There are also these weird blocky hexagonal bars everywhere that weren't there before, resulting in a map that looks more like a Minecraft world than a next-gen Halo. The lighting also looks atrocious, the trees unrendered, and the dialogue seems a bit over the top.
Set a fire in your heart, Spartan. Bare your fang.
Also, a freeze frame on a particularly awful-looking brute mid-trailer is screen-capped, uploaded to Twitter, and memed instantly. Someone at 343 had also forgotten to even animate the chief here. And this game was supposed to be launching in just a few months' time? Dear God, no. Fans had been abused enough, and now this brute is popping up all over the place. This here? This looks diabolical. Please, just delay the game, fans beg. But being a launch title for the Series X, this seemed like a pipe dream at best. However, a couple of weeks after E3, and Microsoft actually caves in. Yeah, okay. The game does look a bit atrocious. You're right. They then make an unprecedented move. Sorry guys, the game is delayed by a year, meaning it wasn't going to make the launch date of the new Xbox. It's around this time that some other Microsoft dev studios are also rumoured to join on to help 343. Okay, this development was not sounding good, but at least they weren't rushing it out. Microsoft was going to make sure this game was good. Infinite's studio head Chris Lee is given the boot instantly, and Joe Staten, Bungie's head writer for Halo 1 through Reach, joins the team to help fix the clear clusterfuck going on behind the scenes. This man is the father of Halo's story, so naturally, fans celebrate.
Come on, baby! Come on!
And with that, 343 returns to the shadows. A few months go by, and in early 2021, 343 comes back. And they're now claiming Halo Infinite is content complete, and that they were now just refining stuff. Fans are rubbing their hands together. We get more trailers at E3 2021, including a look at the multiplayer, and the game is given a solid release date, December 8th, 2021. From E3 onwards, radio silence. No news anywhere. So people online are resorting to the next natural source, Mega Block sets. See, Halo Infinite was supposed to release in 2020, and thus the Mega Block sets were supposed to launch just after the game. But due to the delay, they were out before the game, and turns out, they're giving us more info on the game than the trailers themselves. However, in August 2021, just a few months before launch, and 343 has an announcement. We know it was the very first thing we said about the game, and we promised it all the way back in 2017. But no co-op campaign for Infinite at launch. It's coming as part of the game's second season of content, 3 months after launch. Forge is also delayed. That would now be coming in Season 3, 6 months after launch. Jesus Christ. This is just a few months after they'd said the game was content complete. 3 months later, and it's November 12th, around a month before launch. Rumours are spreading, and word on the street is the multiplayer portion of the game will be out on Halo's 20th anniversary, November 15th. People are doubtful, but the day comes, and it actually drops. 3 weeks before Infinite's official launch. 6 years of development, and hundreds of millions of dollars. And we're now on the cusp of seeing the next 10 years of Halo. But before that, do you like tanks? Well, in World of Tanks, they're everywhere. Artillery tanks, light tanks, medium tanks, heavy tanks. Over 800 tanks. All completely historically accurate. Playing World of Tanks is simple. Just get in your tank, hit the clutch, and go. Fight up to 15 enemy players in intense online battles, with multiple ways to play. Hang back and snipe, or run up the front line with your friends and go ham. And you can drag your tank through fields, forests, deserts, and cities in over 40 different arenas. So many maps, so many tanks. And World of Tanks is free to play. Wait, are those free tanks? Yep, a tier 5 Excelsior, 250k credits, 7 days premium access, and 3 rental tanks for 10 battles each. New players can get them by signing up with the invite code TANKMANIA through the Wargaming portal, or going to this link in the description and comments. People log on and start playing. And wait, the game was actually good? My god. After 10 years, Halo fans breathe a sigh of relief. Now going into making this game, 343 had a slight problem. By completely neglecting what Halo actually was and just doing their own thing for the past 10 years, they'd cultivated a whole new fanbase that had only really been around for the newer games. Meaning 2 portions of their fanbase wanted completely different things. It was now increasingly difficult to please both. How could they bring back Halo while maintaining their new fanbase? Well, with Infinite, they'd tried their best. And it worked. Sprint is still there for the newer fans, but it's heavily nerfed, and a lot slower. Aspects of Halo 5's advanced movement is also there, but instead of everyone having it by default, bits and pieces of it are now scattered across the sandbox in the form of in-game equipment pickups, similar to Halo 3. Maps like Behemoth are also a return to the classic Halo aesthetic and layout, and the grapple hook equipment quickly becomes a fan favourite. The campaign is widely praised. The old music? Check. The old art style? Check. One-liners?
Doesn't that scare you?
No.
Check. Its story is also a lot more grounded and Halo-esque than both the previous games, and basically ditches Halo 5's plotline entirely. It's also completely open world, and a ton of fun. It looked like 343 had finally done it. Made an actual Halo game. It's not uncommon to see people online even saying it's the best gameplay Halo's ever had. Massive player numbers flood in immediately. Xbox claims 20 million on launch day. Halo's biggest launch to date. Also, turns out that this year, COD, and especially Battlefield, weren't looking too hot. So much so that an EA executive blames Halo Infinite for 2042's awful sales and player numbers in an internal meeting. The sentiment was almost unanimous. Infinite had knocked it out the park. Oh yeah, Halo was back on top. However, issues slowly start to rear their head. First off, 343 had called the multiplayer's early launch a multiplayer beta. Turns out, that was a bit misleading. Everyone has permanent access to it, all progress carries over to the full release, and it included all of the full release's online maps and content. So when the full game releases 3 weeks later with no new multiplayer content, players are confused. I thought that was a beta. Where's the new stuff? If this is the full online experience, this game is woefully underpacked.
This is really boring.
This was to be the start of many issues. First things first, Halo Infinite's online is free to play, therefore relying entirely on microtransactions to fund itself. This leads to incredibly egregious monetization practices. First, the game uses a rotating in-game store for cosmetics. This would normally be fine, but in Infinite, the prices are absolutely insane. $20 for a single piece of armor? I'll take 5, please. Then there's the Battle Pass, currently the game's only form of progression. Now there's no general XP system in place for this Battle Pass. Getting kills, completing games, playing the objective, and generally just playing well gives you absolutely nothing.
This is worthless.
The only way to actually get XP and rank up the Battle Pass is by completing random, tediously specific challenges. Challenges like 3 Banshees destroyed, 5 Ghosts destroyed, or the fan favourite, 5 Shade turret kills. Naturally, this challenge system also results in, instead of playing objectives, everyone in the game beelining for specific weapons, vehicles, or focusing on incredibly niche ways to kill people, decimating team play and resulting in people leaving games all the time. Also, you can only progress on a few challenges at a time, so if they're difficult, good luck ranking up. Even if they're not incredibly arduous and you do end up actually completing them, there's only so many challenges per day, meaning you'll quickly run out, and then there's literally no incentive to play the game. This results in the Battle Pass, the only form of progression, taking an insane amount of time to complete. Luckily, 343 have thought this through, and has our backs. Difficult challenges? Simply buy the challenge swaps from the store for $2 a pop, and get some new ones. 343 is also using a core system for Infinite. This means that armor pieces are locked to different bases. Unlock a few cool pieces of armor on one core? Well, they're staying on that core. What's worse, armor pieces are locked to cores for players in-game, but cross-core pieces show in the Halo Waypoint app, as well as on the multiplayer bots. Then there's coatings. In previous games, all customization was free and unlockable, apart from some DLC ones in 4. And at the absolute core of that free customization, your Spartan's colour scheme. Simply choose your Spartan's colours and you're done. For Infinite, 343 decides to mix things up. How about we take all the colours away, create a few pre-packaged colour schemes, and sell them in the Battle Pass for $5 a pop. Brilliant. A few coatings are free by default, some unlocked via the campaign, and some through the Battle Pass, but the rest are sold at absurd prices through the store. Also, let's lock the coatings to each core as well. Spent $5 on the colour blue on one core? Unlucky son. Also, some different coatings are literally exactly the same. Then there's the game's features. A lot of them don't actually work. Custom games, completely broken. You can't select random as a loadout weapon, you can't set default loadout equipment, you can't choose whether you want a team or free-for-all game. It's also incredibly hard to actually save your new game types. Custom games is a feature that worked flawlessly in Halo 2 back in 2004. Theatre, also completely broken. There are too many issues to go into here, but the gist is this. Theatre just flat out doesn't work. This is a feature that worked flawlessly in Halo 3 back in 2007. Ranked play is laughably lenient on ranks, meaning a wave of room temperature IQ players flood the highest ranks in droves. Also, if you lag out or disconnect from a ranked game, there's literally no option for you to join back. And speaking of disconnecting, That'll be happening a lot, because 343 Industries' networking code is absolutely abhorrent. You'll often find games with desync issues, meaning what happens on the server and on your side are completely different. Big team battle is massively unbalanced as both teams get vehicle drops periodically through the game. Here's the problem with that. They're just like completely random. Your team just got dropped a mongoose? Unlucky. The other team's just been dropped a massive tank. This is yet to be addressed to this day, by the way. The UI, well, it's just incredibly slow. Just going into the customization menu often takes more than 20 seconds, and the main menu alone almost takes 100% usage of your GPU. A lot of people even report their PCs getting hotter in the main menu than the actual game. Bugs-wise, the game's actually okay, most being small, even entertaining glitches. So Infinite's core gameplay itself, solid. Literally everything else, absolutely terrible. The network, the engine, the storefront, the content timeline, progression, everything. Everything sucks. And then there were the missing features. The game's content, bare. No new vehicles and barely any maps. It launches with 10. Halo 2 launched with 12, and again, that was back in 2004. Also, a lack of basic community and lobby features, no stats or career page, no assassinations, a thing that's been in Halo since Reach, no Infraction game mode, no region selection, no player collision, no Forge at launch, and finally, no anti-cheat on PC. This is in the year 2021, on a free-to-play game. Oh, there's also no way to report players in-game. When it comes to the campaign, Infinite was touted to be similar to Bungie's original vision of Combat Evolved. Open world, completely explorable, and free roam. Naturally, this got people excited, and when it released, the campaign was quite highly rated. But slowly, surely, complaints arise here too. First off, the game starts off with a cutscene showing a massive battle that looks more exciting than the rest of the campaign combined. And the game ends on a cliffhanger just as things start to get interesting.
That's it?
Then there's the open world. Most players agree, it adds little to the game, and makes for less set pieces and memorable scenes. There's also only one biome in the entire game, a grassy forest. Each mission feels samey and sort of blends into the next one, compared to prior Halos where most missions are distinct from the last. Also, once you actually get into the open world, performance absolutely nosedives. The graphics in the full game are better than what was shown in 2020, but still leaves a lot to be desired. The lighting is especially bad. Then there's no mission replay. If you want to replay a mission, you literally have to restart the whole game again. And worst of all, still no campaign co-op. This was literally the first thing announced for the game by the head of 343 Industries back in 2017.
And I would say for any FPS going out forward, we will always have split screen in going forward.
People grab their pitchforks and take to Twitter and Reddit. They are angry. The list of complaints is seemingly endless, but a big one sticks out. There are all these game modes, but they're all jammed into a single playlist. Quick play, meaning we can't actually choose what to play. Want to just play Slayer? Unlucky. You have a random 1 in 4 chance every time you search for a game. Oh look, another game of Oddball. How fun. People demand answers, and 343 is forced to come out with a statement. Hey, so about those playlists. Well, we have UI limitations with the game right now, and they affect the way and number of playlists that can be shown. As for Slayer itself, we're still having discussions around feasibility. The feasibility of a team deathmatch playlist? UI limitations for an additional playlist? On a game that was supposed to be the next 10 years of Halo. This, of course, is memed instantly. Want more maps added to the game? Sorry guys, UI can't handle it. Fixing the horrific servers? Nah. That UI bro. Better store prices? Can't do it. The UI. literally just an XP system. UI. People are pissed. The UI comment was the tipping point, and it all comes to a head. The Halo subreddit explodes with rage, and is subsequently locked down. However, in mid-December, 343 comes out and has a little something to show off. Turns out, behind the scenes, they'd been working on the impossible. After hours upon hours of work, the UI could finally handle it. And an actual playlist for Slayer launches. My god, a miracle. They also remove some of the harder challenges in rotation, so that it's actually possible to advance in the season pass. And with that, they kiss goodbye and log off for the Christmas holidays. A month later, and in mid-January, 343 comes back from holiday. It's back to work, and they've got a lot of it. At this point, they'd managed to add a couple of standard playlists to the game. A massive feat indeed. But they had all of the other issues to fix too. And turns out, now even more problems are brewing. See, ever since fully launching on December 8th, the game itself had slowly, bit by bit, just been breaking. Big Team Battle is now outright unplayable for some reason. Either crashing immediately, kicking your mates out before starting, or just not starting at all. And the netcode and lag across all games is absolutely awful, and getting worse. The servers degrade to the point where people are experiencing multiple seconds of desync. They deploy a Big Team Battle networking hotfix, but it fails to improve anything. It's so bad, they consider actually temporarily removing the Big Team Battle challenges from the game. As a result of all of these issues, compounded with the lack of content, slow progression, egregious monetization, and so on, player numbers nosedive at breakneck speed. Also, because of that lack of server region selection, you're forced to play in your own continent, somewhere like Australia or Asia, where there's not too many people playing Halo. Unlucky, you'll be on that search screen for a while. So yeah, things are starting to look a little rocky, but hey, it's live service. 343 have said that Infinite is the platform for the next decade of Halo, so they'll fix it right up, just like they did with Halo 5, fans tell themselves. It was gonna be okay. While there would be events with new cosmetics sprinkled about here and there, Season 1 of Infinite is set to last a whole 6 months, so players are strapped in with minimal content for a while. But in February 2022, they tell us they're trying to fix the server desync issues.
I'm trying.
And Halo veteran Joe Staten says they're hard at work with a big, meaty roadmap coming up soon. Nice. We wait, and wait, and wait. Literal months go by, and we see only a few updates with various bug fixes, a couple of events with some cosmetics, and a few more store rotations, which are now a bit more fairly priced at least. The networking remains horrendous. It's looking a little bit quiet on the Infinite front, but no worries. In the meantime, we have a $90 million Halo TV show coming out in March, the biggest gaming TV show ever to release at this point. This will be good. It's not good. Master Chief has been replaced with Master Cheeks, a man who removes a new piece of clothing each episode, and is also very angry. Add a few insufferable characters and yeah, that's enough of that. Of course, there's no integration of this massive series in Halo Infinite besides a message of the day, some emblems, and a gun charm.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Eventually, 343 actually do fix Big Team Battle in March, and still in the midst of this massive content drought, on the 5th of April, they have an announcement. Gentlemen, a Halo cookbook. Recipes from across the galaxy. Well, why is the front cover a picture of churros, a sandwich, and fish and chips? Naturally, players are overcome with excitement. But on the 23rd of April, we finally get the roadmap Staten promised back in January. And it's looking dismal. Turns out Season 3 will be delayed by 3 months, meaning Season 2 is 6 months long as well, and co-op is delayed along with it. It's May 3rd, and Season 2 releases. It brings a new battle pass with 2 armor cores, 2 maps, new game modes, and some bug fixes. There's also a new narrative event. However, that turns out to be a half-assed 3-minute cutscene. The new armor pieces and effects are perfectly executed and completely aligned. Anyway, throughout Season 2, we get a few more developments. On June the 14th, 343 adds a Black Lives Matter emblem to the game. One problem, the actual name of it is Bonobo. In June, 343 announces Drop Pod updates. These would be monthly quality of life patches and would build towards full cross-core in the future. 343 also updates us on their work to fix desync, which is still rife.
Our goal is to get into a monthly cadence of a drop pod a month.
Even though it was supposed to be a monthly thing, the next drop pod comes out 2 months later, in August. Drop pods are canned entirely by September.
Ooh, that's kind of small.
In July, a Redditor discovers a glitch. Apparently, when in Infinite's menus, the game downloads the new season's banner image about 2,000 times, wasting almost 2 gigabytes of data. But fast forward to September 1st, and we get more info on that juicy Season 3, which is supposed to be launching in a couple of months' time. 343 pulls up a chair and returns with one of their iconic announcements. Gentlemen, please, take a seat. Listen, we know this next season was already delayed by 3 months, but here's the thing. It's now 6, because it's delayed again. Also, that local split screen we've been working on for months and promised years ago, permanently canned. So Season 3 is moved to March of next year, meaning Season 2 is 9 months long. A week later, it's also revealed that a bug in the game allows you to glitch into local split screen, and it works almost flawlessly, even on Xbox One. They also announce a beta for Matchmaking XP. A beta for Matchmaking XP. What? Again, people are pissed. Massive YouTubers are saying Infinite is beyond saving, with some even questioning Halo as a whole. Microsoft finally wakes up from cryosleep. Seems people aren't too happy here. We're gonna have to step in. And on September 12th, Bonnie Ross has to step down, and 343's leadership is restructured. After 10 years of asking, Halo fans breathe a sigh of relief. Pierre Hintz will take over as studio head immediately, the guy who headed the overhaul for the MCC. This sounds promising. September 13th, and 343 is so unorganised and behind on work, they've only just released their Easter and spring cosmetics in the store. This is a month before Halloween. Due to being so behind, there would be no Halloween cosmetics. Again that month, 343 comes out with a big worldwide reveal. Announced for the end of the month, fans get excited. Theories are everywhere. Was it an early Forge release? Cross-core? Desync finally fixed? Well, no. It's a teaser for a remake of a Halo 3 map, made entirely in Forge. Fair to say, fans weren't too pleased. 8th of November 2022, and the winter update releases. A whole year after the game had come out, and online campaign co-op finally releases, along with the ability to replay missions. We also get a small battle pass, and the Forge beta releases. And to be fair, it's actually really good. This time round, Forge has essentially gone beyond building maps, and is basically now a mini version of what 343 used to actually make the game. Naturally, the creations are impressive. This, along with the custom games browser that launches in December, gives Infinite amazing custom games potential. But about that custom games browser, it's massively broken. Try to join a game and you'll likely be met with an infinite loading screen. If you do actually get in, chances are your ping will be stratospheric. There's also no option to join custom games browser lobbies with friends. Then there's the remade Halo 3 map. All armor cores are now free, visors are now cross-core, network desync improvements, and more bug fixes. Overall, a pretty good update. However, in total, after a year since release, we'd had a total of 4 new maps, some new game modes, a beta for Forge, the ability to replay campaign missions, one new full battle pass, the start of cross-core, and a beta for experience points. It took a while, but Infinite was actually starting to resemble a ready-to-release game. However, there is still a lot missing. Here's a taste. Firefight, Infection, a match composer, full cross-core, server region selection, and a career stats page. Theatre remains completely broken to this day. Despite the promising new features and actual content now coming out for the game, player numbers remain catastrophic. As a result, the custom games browser dies within a couple of months, going down to about 3 pages of lobbies in Europe in February 2023. That's a total of about 30 lobbies. It's clear, the game was woefully underperforming, and in January 2023, Microsoft gathers an assembly. That was it. The hammer was coming down, and 343 is hit with a massive wave of layoffs. Now, Microsoft is laying off talent from almost all of their studios,
You're fired.
but 343 is apparently hit hard. According to an insider, almost 50% of the studio is axed. Tom French, Infinite's multiplayer creative director, had also left a month before. Infinite's art director a few months before him. Both had been at 343 since the beginning. The director of art management is also fired, along with 30 of his department. Even Joe Staten is removed from 343. The studio currently looks like it's imploding, and people are questioning if there'll ever even be another Halo game at this point. So much so that 343 has to actually come out with a statement, reassuring us that there'd be more Halo games. We're fine, guys. Totally fine. Despite 343 promising at least 3 more seasons, Infinite's outlook isn't great, and 343 is now looking 3 for 3. So what actually happened? Well, the behind the scenes for Infinite's horrendous outcome is still largely up in the air. However, based on insider reports and leaks, we do have an idea. First off, Halo 5's campaign set up Halo 6 to be based on a war against AI. But when players absolutely detested Halo 5's story, 343 decided to scrap it and go in another direction. Meaning a whole new story had to be written from the ground up. This takes time, and at some point in 2019, the game undergoes a complete reboot, and everything is scrapped and built from the ground up. Throughout that same year, a flurry of people are leaving the studio, with 343's art director leaving in March, Infinite's lead producer leaving in August, and its creative director in October. Not exactly a smooth development so far. Then there's the actual structure of the company. See, lots of 343's staff are contractors, especially for technical work. Microsoft hires these contractors to save money, because if they stay longer than 18 months, they get employee benefits and higher pay. Can't be having that. This process is a terrible idea for a game dev studio for a ton of reasons.
I'm kind of retarded.
But here's 2. 1. It leads to newly contracted devs spending a ton of time learning everything from scratch and catching up to whatever the last guy was doing. And 2. The engine. Halo has been using the Blam engine since Combat Evolved back in 2001. This is a unique and niche engine. So first off, the contractors need to spend time learning how to actually use it before they can get to work. Also, turns out that before the development of Infinite, 343 decided to invest a massive amount of time, money, and effort into giving this engine an upgrade. Get this, using a ton of temporary contractors. Naturally, this upgraded slipspace engine is rumoured to be hot dog shit because it's been taped together between random devs coming in and out of the studio. And now, after it's finished, no one can actually work the thing, because everyone that built it is gone. With the engine essentially now unworkable. People at 343 struggle to add or fix the game because they don't even understand their own engine anymore. Then there's the rumoured lack of competent management and effective decision making, combined with too much ambition. All of this ultimately leading to a lot of useless work being produced from a constant stream of new employees. Eventually, when crunch hits, the only way to finish the game was to cut everything that wasn't desperately needed. The result is what we see in the masses of cut content, which are still in the files. 2020. They've now been working on some form of Infinite since 2016, and have a somewhat working product, and now it's time for E3. Naturally, the reaction to 2020's reveal is awful, and Microsoft are forced to bring in the big guns. Joe Staten is brought in a year before release to make sense of the steaming pile of horseshit currently at 343's feet. But a year later, and through hard graft, they'd finally get the game out in one piece. And against all odds, people seem to love it. However, post-launch, and there are development problems here too. See, historically, 343 have relied on a couple of companies to help with post-launch content. Certain Affinity, who currently have their hands full with a rumoured battle royale for Halo, and Sperasoft, who they'd outsource a ton of the post-launch maps to. Small problem here. See, Sperasoft is a Russian company, and in February 2021, Russia decided to invade a neighbouring country. The Russian invasion is slightly controversial, and causes sanctions and the halting of a lot of partnerships between firms in the West and Russia, meaning no more work for Sperasoft. But it was fine. 343 itself would create the bulk of post-launch content, right? Well, no. Apparently, instead of creating new content for the game, a ton of devs were making prototypes in Unreal Engine and pitching ideas for new Halo games instead. A lot of these devs have apparently since been laid off. With 343's new leadership, they now actually are ditching the Slipspace engine, which they'd spent 4 years building, and going with Unreal. So at this point, it's been almost 2 years since Infinite's release, and it's been a somewhat bumpy ride. In January, it's confirmed there's been no story DLC being worked on, meaning we're left on a massive cliffhanger for years. And like pretty much every update that came before it, Season 3 brings a lot of new problems, including tanking performance, increased desync, and now a bug where in-game settings are randomly reset every time you log in. Cross-core camos have been introduced, however, they're $14 a pop. From launch till now, Infinite's player base has tanked from 260 to 8k on Steam. Even with the latest season having dropped at the time of recording, Infinite sits at the 18th most played game on Xbox. But with big things apparently still in the works, like a battle royale, new weapons and vehicles, forgeable AI, firefight, and almost 30 new maps.
Oh, let's go! That's class!
And with a new leadership structure at 343, a few fans hold out hope that what comes out the other end will be better. But with a switch to Unreal, alongside the reshaping of the entire studio, it looks like Halo will be out for a while.